This is John Paul Rai. I'm coming from Tokyo, Japan, covering 2 articles today in one shot because they're pretty similar. And one is about Kit Harington telling critics to go F themselves, and the next is about Solphie Turner. So the thing is, Kit Harington tells Game of Thrones haters to go F themselves. Now, the word he uses is critic. So critic to me, when I hear critic, I usually use it in the context that it's somebody who's writing for an article, for a website, maybe even a YouTube or something like that, and saying it's bad. I don't think of critic as just someone who doesn't like it. While the word does mean anybody who doesn't like it, he, in his quote, leads me to believe he means critic. So that's a little unclear to me. Whatever critic spends half an hour writing about this season and makes their judgment on it, in my head they can go F themselves, he tells Esquire, because I know how much work was put into this. Well, yeah, work being put into it doesn't necessarily mean anything according to the final judgment. You could work on it for 500,000 years, and if you still come up with this episode, I'm just going to watch it in an hour and I'm going to speak my mind on it. If you pound it out in 48 hours and it comes out, amazing, just judge it. It just doesn't really matter to us as the viewer how much work went in to a certain extent. I mean, we appreciate it, we respect it, that's great. We might even give him a little extra money for the hard work, but if we don't like it in the end, it doesn't really matter how much work went into it. He goes on to apologize. I don't mean to sound mean about critics. Again, he says critics. And just, I don't know, for me personally, when I hear the word critics used in that context, it seems like critics, like on Rotten Tomatoes, something like that. But yeah, he could also just be using it in the sense of any old critic. It's a little confusing for me, just to be honest. But says the show means far too much to him to let it be dragged mercilessly. And I just gotta say something also. Yeah, they didn't stick the landing here. They didn't get it right at the end. But on the whole, it's still an amazing show. And it really must have influenced other showmakers, other writers around the world, things like that. So, yeah, unfortunately, the ending wasn't good. But, that doesn't mean you could say, well, the whole show is crap on the whole. I mean, we've still got 1 through 6 really good seasons. I'd argue 7's okay, alright. Like, it wasn't great, but I'd argue it was fine. And again, like I'm going to have to say with The Last Jedi, if The Last Jedi was amazing, The Force Awakens would be a little more forgivable. We'd be like, okay, wasn't so great, but you know what? Wow, we got The Last Jedi, it all makes sense now. We could watch The Force Awakens, maybe with Season 7. If Season 8 ended up being, amazing, people wouldn't be like, well, even Season 7 was bad. They'd just be like, alright, yeah, there we go. So, probably Season 7 and 6, suffered more because 8's bad. The article goes on to remind us that over 1 million people have signed the petition to redo Game of Thrones. And here's the other thing about the petition, is that I think people who didn't, really care so much if it got redone signed it. Because what do you have to lose? Just sign it. Add to the pile. Maybe they'll redo it. Even if you, had a problem with a few things, what the hell? I'm kind of, in the middle. It wasn't good. It felt rushed. I have a lot of the same problems as you guys. But I wouldn't be like, oh my god, remake it. I'm pissed. I'm just like, okay, that's unfortunate. That sucks. But I'd sign the petition. Why not? Add one more name. So yeah, as far as Kit here, I gotta say, he could have just played the middle ground. Just, come on, man. Just be like, okay, I understand some disappointment. But, there are a lot of happy fans too, and I'm somewhere in the middle. He could have just flat out said something like, I'm somewhere in the middle. Jeez. Alright, let's get to Solphie Turner. Solphie Turner on Game of Thrones, disrespectful fan reactions, and Sansa's end. Well, I will say this. I personally think out of all the endings, Sansa got one of the best ones. If I was Solphie Turner, I'd be pretty happy with the ending. She becomes Queen of the North. She's queenly like her mother now. She's, the daughter of Ned Stark. Great. She got a good ending. So I could see, in her case, how she'd be a little more frustrated. But again, same thing with Harington, Haringer. That last name, I get it so wrong. Anyway, same thing with Kit. She could just be say something like, I'm sorry so many fans are disappointed. I personally liked my ending. Then try to say something good about it. Maybe to convince some fans that are on the fence that it was good. Turner spoke briefly by phone from Berlin, where she's promoting her new X-Men movie Dark Phoenix. And be careful, Solphie, because you have other things in the future, so it's best for fans to like you, for you to be a friend to the public. She discussed the end of Game of Thrones, the fan backlash, and why Sansa's resiliency owed nothing to her abusers, despite a moment earlier this season that seemed to suggest as much. These are edited excerpts from the conversation. How are you feeling now that Game of Thrones is officially over?
I don't know. This whole time I felt like I've been prepared for it, and now it's come to the day, and it's over. I feel horrible, and I'm doing a press day for my new movie, but everyone keeps asking me how I feel, and I just want to cry.
Alright. I mean, I have such trouble, feeling bad for actors, because I'm sure they have hard parts of their life and their job, but let's face it, they've got it good. They get well paid for what they do. What did she have, a year and a half off from Game of Thrones, doing what? Probably taking cruises, buying literally anything she wanted in the world. Come on. If she cries once in a while, that's cool. Everyone cries. I cry. My wife cries. People you work with cry. Everyone cries over things in their life. Sorry, I can't feel bad for that. What did you think about the end?
I haven't actually watched it yet because I was alone when it came out, and I truly can't be alone to watch it, but I read the script and I acted in it, so I kind of know what happens.
So King Bran
the Broken, I suppose it was unexpected, but it makes a lot of sense. The best way for us to move into the future is to look at our past and try not to make those mistakes we did in the past. And he's the one person that knows everything, so it does make sense. It feels like he would be an incredibly fair ruler.
The problem with Bran being king is not that he's capable, it's that, like Arya killing the Night King, his plotline had nothing to do with it. He just becomes king out of nowhere. And he said he doesn't want to be Lord. Then he says, that's what I'm here for. He's supposed to fly. I guess metaphorically he did fly, but he didn't fly. Not really. Anyway, yeah, I gotta just say, I don't see why these actors have to take a side. The best thing to do is play the middle. And if you don't play the middle, obviously people aren't going to appreciate it. So this is kind of defending creative work. I've got some subscribers here saying, how come you hate Brie Larson with all these other people you could hate? Even bringing up crimes. We'll get into that one day. But the thing is, crimes that actors commit, and I should hate those actors more than I hate Brie Larson because they do real crimes. Anyway, my point is, Sophie Turner and Kit Harington didn't say anything racist. They didn't pick out a specific group. They didn't say, oh, you 40-year-old white dudes, or, oh, you 38-year-old chicks, who've been reading Game of Thrones. Or they didn't say, hey, you black dudes, you Mexican dudes. They just generally gave a little backlash. So I'm less mad at that stuff. I'm not mad at all, actually. It's when they say something specific, racial, gender-based, that's when I think they cross a line. I don't think they cross a line. They, not too smart, just kind of another edition of Dumb and Dumber in Game of Thrones. I'm doing shout-outs, special thanks, things like that. Click that subscribe button, pretty pleased with sugar on top. I'm saying that a lot. I gotta end it. These endings are awkward lately. See you next time.